Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your attendance on this morning's webinar. My name is Daniel Keane, and I'm joined today with Clint Smith, and we're going to be going through today's company secretarial integration. Now, before we start, I must explain that me and Clint are in two separate locations, so don't worry if there is a slight delay in audio when we switch over. But the idea of today is to show the functionality behind company secretarial. I can see we've got a number of customers on today's webinar, which is fantastic, but then also some names I don't recognize, which is even better. So for those of you who are maybe not aware of the company secretarial product, we'll be taking a look into the functionality found within the company secretarial module, but then also to unveil the brand new company secretarial integration. And we're going to take a look at how BTCSoftware's company secretarial module links directly with the practice management solution. So without further ado, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transfer you over to Clint Smith, and Clint Smith will be sharing his screen.
Welcome to the CS Solution webinar. We're just going to take you through some outlines very quickly of how the COSEC works, how it integrates with the rest of BTC, and some of the salient features. Please bear in mind that we're talking about something like a 400-page cloud-based website here, so the features that we will be looking at will be very much a summary look at what we're doing, but we'll just try and pick out some of the most important ones to start with. So first of all, for those of you unfamiliar with COSEC, there is a definite relationship between Companies House and the COSEC software, so quite a lot of information is synchronized, dates and that sort of thing, and there's a lot of interaction between Companies House servers and Companies House data and the data on the software, not least of which through a process called e-filing, which you're probably familiar with, which replaces the web filing that you may be doing at the moment. So for this COSEC system, we have the data. That was where we're going to start. So we're going to get our data in, and then we're going to do a few things with the data. So to understand the data, we have to look at how that is structured, and that's basically structured into two lists. One of those lists is a list of companies. So I'm going from my main menu here, and I'm going to say show all the companies and the live ones. And so on this sample account, we just have 3 sample companies. And then the other main list we have is to do those individuals who are connected into companies. So we have a list of people, again, person, and show all people this time. So there we have some people through there. Quite often a lot more people than you have with companies, and various directors and shareholders will come from that list and be connected with the people. So what we're going to do, we have a list of companies, a list of people, and then we knit the two together to form the relationship which describes the company. So we say we pick people from the people list, and we say they're a director, they're a shareholder, etc., etc. So what we're going to do first is we are going to look at how we transfer that data into the BTC and the pathway for that data. So the first thing is we're going to pick up a company, which is going to be this flat management company, a flat management company. Pick it up. There it is with the select button. And that is now the company we're working with. And these are the relationships into that company. So we're going to look at the connections. So we go company and connections. And this is how that data maps into the to this company. So A Flat Management has these 4 individuals as current officers, 3 directors and a secretary, and then it has the full list of directors, including resigned ones. Here's a resigned one here. Company secretaries, the current shareholders, including the system supports trusts and joint shareholders, foreign firms, and all those things that you need for PSCs. The original shares. These shares have been uploaded from Companies House, and Companies House don't hand out the amounts paid for share or the original allotment date. So these have come in here as opening balances for that momentary glimpse that Companies House give us to form our basic data from. So there we have the shareholders. This is a flat management company with I think 6 units. So these there will be 6 shares, 1 per unit. And then we have a share transfer, and in this case it's to a trust. We'll go into that a little bit later on. Any number of share classes and a PSC register, which we will also go into later on. Further down, register of members, which is a derivative from the basic input of allotment transfer data or the upload data. So the register of members is automated. And then we have dividends and dividend vouchers, which obviously being a flat management company, we have no dividends and dividend vouchers in that, although we will be looking at that a little bit later on. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to just talk about the process of getting the data synchronized with the rest of the BTC system. And the way we do this is we go to Company's House and we pick up a company from there. Very simple 2-click process. We can do comparisons for companies that are already on there, and we can preview and upload data for new companies, and obviously we're not allowed to portray real company information, so we won't actually be looking at the fine detail of that on a public demo. So just to say that this particular screen handles the input of data from Company's House into the COSEC, and then from the COSEC you can go into the BTC hub and then just click on Company Secretarial and import that data into your main BTC system. So you get a new client, you can bring people in from scratch and companies in from scratch. If you get updates, you can put the update into COSEC, file it at Company's House, and then simultaneously bring it up into the BTC. So everything is in sync, and the amount of bulk typing that you have to do is reduced. Duplicate typing is basically eliminated from the process. So I'm just going to bring in my colleague Kate now, who's going to just walk you through how we're going to move data from a company or a number of companies into the BTC system. So there's data in this company, and I'm just going to look at another company first before we just do this process. So I'm going to go company, show all my companies. This company here, which is called Zoo, and it has also a number of individuals involved. So you'll be seeing some of these names and their information going across into the BTC system. So I'm just going to hand over to Kate. Okay, Kate, I've got a new client in. They're called Zoo Limited from my Company Secretarial side. I've got a couple of other new clients as well, but I really want to get Zoo Limited up into the rest of BTC so I can do some work for them. Can you just show me how that process goes?
Okay, so on BTCSoftware we have the open CS solution, which is already open, so we won't press that, but that's how you get it to Secretarial part. And synchronize data is this button which I have clicked, and I'd like to import companies from the CS solution directly to BTC. It's looking in and it's seeing 3 companies. Clint has asked me for the Zoo Limited, which I will do straight away. Need to just confirm that it is a limited company. So Zoo Limited, we have the details, the
company numbers, etc.,
and the contact details, which is the registered office. Comes up from Secretarial. So if I was now to just prove that the synchronization works as well.
Well, before you do that, can I have my offices up from the 2 companies, or at least from the Zoo Limited? So if you could show me how to put those offices up.
Yes. So we'll go to synchronize data, and on this occasion we're not looking for the companies but directors. So I'm going to add new clients.
Okay. So these are the ones which I want, which I think is Christina and Clint the singer, I think. Just add those in. So I get the choice here. If I've got someone on the system already who's involved with other companies, so they're involved in more than one company, I don't have to re-import that person if I don't wish to, or I can re-import them and overwrite the entry that's there. So I get full control over who I'm adding to the system in the case of new clients. Yeah.
Yeah.
Off it goes. Fantastic.
And we'll close that. And there's about 3 people that we have added
Okay.
simultaneously.
So just have a quick look at that, and then what I'm going to imagine then is I'm 6 months further down the line and one of my people has changed their address. So what I want to do then is to obviously I'll be filing that at Companies House using COSEC, and having done so, I then want that information synchronized into the main BTC platform. Okay, so there we are. That's it. So I'm over in COSEC. I pick up one of my people, Cliff Richard Singer.
Oh, I thought I was changing the
No, I don't want to pick up on one of my people has changed address, so I'll pick up one of my people. Okay. And I want to go to their details. So
person details.
yeah. And I've just dropped down there slightly. And I want to change his address from Gloucester Road to Bristol Road. Okay, so that gets saved. Now, that's a change of address, so we're going to go to the filing menu, and we're going to go director forms, and we're going to go change director details CH01. Okay, so that's the person concerned. He picks out the directors. We're just going to click on the tick box that says residential address, which is changed. Oh, it isn't his residence, it's his service address that's changed. So we'll click on service address, sorry. Service address. There he is, Bristol Road, and we'll preview that. And essentially on the right hand side, this is the Companies House form with the change for his service address in. And then we have a button which you can just put the mouse over the key for filing electronically. So if we press file electronically, we get a little preview. Then we can just simply file that straight away. In fact, we don't have a proper presenter ID for this demo account, so it's not going to let us actually do the e-filing. But literally changes like that are just a couple of clicks, a preview, and then you can file. So over on the main BTC platform, we need to just do a routine resynchronization. So we're going to go with the synchronize, I think, the synchronize. So that's his old data. Gloucester Road, we're going to synchronize, imagine.
Yes.
And pick that up. I think we're just synchronizing the directors, but there we are. So it's just worked out.
Because it will work
it's just worked out who it is that it needs to update, and then it's gone ahead and done that. So you don't have to worry about the updates you've made on Secretarial, because it'll go and spot the changes, spot the differences, and then make the updates for you. So as we go through here now, and we're going to look at our man's contact details. There he is, and his contact details. Contact details. And there he is in Bristol Road now. So essentially that synchronization has auto-detected the changes that we've made and filed at COSEC and implemented those throughout the rest of BTC using this synchronize. So we have two operations. We have the add new client type operation that will bring data in, and then synchronize changes. And it doesn't matter to which companies or which people you do the changes, those changes will just get brought, will be worked out, the differences, and then just brought into the rest of BTC without any due consideration. So you don't have to remember specific changes. Just as you're ready, just click that sync button and up it'll all come. So now I'm going to take you through just very briefly some of the other features in the system, and I'm going to start with a quick look at the stat books. Just to concentrate on stat books, I'm going to have a quick look at deadlines. I'm going to look at e-filing, which you all want to do for your confirmation statements. And I'm going to look at dividends and PSC. So just to give you an idea, this is a very large 400-odd page website. It's got its own built-in cloud library. Everything you do is put into a single source. If you can use it to form companies, the incorporation certificates put in there, mem and arts are put in there and everything. Now, generally speaking, we try and minimize the data input. So we have a single entry for a person, generally speaking, unless they have two service addresses. where we have single entries for share allotments and transfers, from which we derive the PSC register, register of members, etc. So when it comes to producing actual statutory books, then all we have to do is just click a couple of buttons and they're all going to come out. So in this case, I'm going to choose, I can choose specific ones, but I'm going to choose every register which actually has something on it. So that's going to do it. So I'm going to click name registers, and then there it is. So that it's worked out. You need a register of directors, share classes, allotments, transfers, members, PSC. So click there just to see. And this is the register set in quite a nice PDF format. They're nice curved edges, all worked out for you, who the current people are, the current date, the full historical entries if you've got in there, residential addresses, because we have to be careful about what we are obligated to make public under company law and what we have to keep private under GDPR. So we now have different registers for residential addresses to service addresses, various different share classes. These are the allotment shares, and these are the transfers from which it is possible, and we do this automatically, to derive the register of members. And we also, and I'll be speaking about this later, derive the full persons of register significant control register completely automatically. That's a fit and forget function, PSCs. You don't really have to think about PSCs anymore. So that's registers. As I say, it's a whistle-top store. So we have a tour. So we're going to stop there and just move on to the next subject. And the next subject is very important because it's about avoiding fines, and that is to do with deadline management. So we have got, sort of back to my home page now, a whole bunch of information. First of all, we go to Companies House on a 48-hour cycle, which is soon to be a 12-hour cycle, and we go and fetch all the next accounts filing dates and the next confirmation statements and the latest file dates, and we resynchronize those into the company secretarial data every 48 hours. So if we're looking at Zoo Limited, and we go into the details for that company, and then we go to the confirmation statement, we'll see there's some dates here, and those dates, even if you've typed them in wrongly, or you're in the middle of a process or something like that, and they're incorrect, within 48 hours, and as I say, shortly within 12 hours, they will be set back to the dates at Companies House. So you can be pretty confident that when we look at date reports, they are the correct dates that are in there. So we're going to just pop out of there, have a quick look at some date reports. So I'm going to go select all, deadlines. I've got a various groups of categories according to which dates that you've filled in. I'm going to look at all deadlines here. So obviously I've only got a couple of dates, a couple of companies in there, and so these have now got thoroughly overdue stuff because the companies don't exist, so they don't have company numbers, so we can't sync them. So essentially this is dummy data, and it just shows you that some of this stuff is overdue, and in particular we're looking at Discount Accounts Limited, and this is his overdue accounts filing. So this is a fine scenario, and under normal working situation with this software you should never see that, because unless it really is truly your fault or the client's fault for not producing data, there's no administrative error reason for those accounts not to go in. It's being made obvious to you both on this report, and also we provide email reminders out of this system, and those email reminders, as companies come near their respective deadlines, they will basically show up in the email reminders very clearly. So you'll be getting that information from two sources: the reports on the system and email reminders in your inbox. So that's a quick look at deadline management. We're going to move very rapidly on. If I go to the filing menu, you can see from this as I wander down, we've got a couple of things here. One of which is the filing center, which I'm going to go into in conjunction with PSCs. Your important section here is to check your e-filings. So if you've submitted things in there, you can get an up-to-date picture of what the filing situation is for your practice at Companies House. And the important one, of course, confirmation statement. Now, some of you will be sending out possibly in-house design documents to get confirmation statement authority from the client, possibly the form itself. The word is obviously you can no longer send out a confirmation statement and expect that to cover all the filing at Companies House up to date that you're asking the client to confirm and authorize. And that's because the confirmation statement simply doesn't carry any information about directors, it needn't carry information about PSCs, and it needn't even carry information about shares. It just says everything's up to date. So sending that out to the client is not really sufficient for the client to be able to say, yes, I authorize this, and yes, my company's up to date. So we provide, it used to be sufficient with the annual return, but no longer. We provide something called the client checklist. Is essentially going to be a PDF document that can be emailed or sent to the client, explains in very simple terms the information that they're being asked to confirm, and gives them little boxes that they can fill in any changes, and it tells them what the current situation is with the company. So I'm going to save and show that checklist. And here it is. Let's say a very popular document, very easily and simply laid out for the client to understand. The idea here is that if you can get the information from the client simply, you're going to cut down on the admin and the questions and the ambiguity. So here we're covering SIC codes. We explain what a SIC code is. We then say what the company's already got, and then we ask if there's been any changes, and that is a repeating theme through. So here's a director. It says why we need to know director information. It explains the difference between service addresses and residential addresses, which sometimes comes up with clients, and then they can correct it. So if they sign that off with no changes, you're ready to go straight away for the confirmation statement. So that's that one. We're going to go back into the filing, CSO1 confirmation statement, CSO1 confirmation. If the client's happy and your client and you're happy, it's literally a one-click operation. So this is the information that's going to be sent in about the shares, the officers, who's holding which shares, etc., etc. And if I were to hit that submit button, that would literally be all that it would take to fire off the confirmation statement. The various changes in shares and changes of officers are done through the year using the filing you saw earlier. So everything is kept up to date. The data's up to date. Confirmation statement just goes straight in, absolutely no problem. So that I'm going to cancel out of because we don't want to do it. And I'm going to pick up one of my other companies, and I'm going to talk for a little bit about dividend vouchers, or maybe we'll look at this company and do the dividend vouchers here. So we think that the COSEC is a good place to do dividend vouchers because the information about shares and where shares change is already present, whether they hold dividends or not. So dividend distributions, we're going to come down here. I'm going to go company details, and then dividends and distributions. And here are some that have already been put in. Now, because we know what shares have been issued to which people, all we need to do is the client comes in and says, I want to distribute £2,000 to my shareholders as a dividend this month. So we simply say, okay, I'm going to add a distribution, and it's going to be £2,000. And there are fields which the other fields almost all automatically filled in for you, except the date of payment, which we're going to put in as today. And then essentially we're going to have an interim dividend. They're much easier to process. And I'm going to go click one button, make the vouchers. And here we have it. So here's the 16th of August's distribution. So we have a single shareholder here, Kate Holmes. She gets 1% of the shares, and we have 99% of the shares with Cliff Singer here. So she gets £20 of the £2,000, he gets the other 1980. All that's worked out for you. And we also have a full section on dividend waivers. So anybody who's electing to waive a proportion or a whole, all gets automatically processed in. And then you can have the dividend vouchers, which you can see. We'll just have a quick look at those. And just to note that these are very smart, and they match the share certificates. But if you don't like them, share certificates, dividend vouchers, dividend wording for minutes, and that sort of thing are all entirely customizable. So you can build your own templates to do these vouchers should you so wish. So I'm going to just cancel out of that. That's dividends. Now something else, two more sections just to finish off the webinar. The first of which is that if you appoint a director, it's been common practice in the past for people to file the form at Companies House and say, okay, that's done. The Companies House know that the guy's a director, the bank knows, they get their loans, blah, blah, blah. Companies House is just a registry. The legal standing of a form at Companies House is on the same sort of level as a birthday card, so no legal standing whatsoever. So should these people fall out with each other and they wish to have the director removed, one of them may get a very clever solicitor and says, well, can I see the minute that appointed them in the first place? No minute exists. In actual fact, the guy's never been a director at all because he's never been minuted in by the people already in the company authorized to do so. So in these days of increasing compliance and legislation, very important to get those minutes done, both for the client's thing and for your own due diligence in the practice. So just going to show you very straightforwardly how to do the minutes. So we're going to do a dividend distribution minute in this case. It could be a director allotment minute or any of the other minutes. So here's a dividend minute resolution. And here's our minute we've just done. We can minute several of them. We minute them into the future because we can do, say, 12 months anticipated dividends. Legally, you can't do backdated dividends legally. So you can batch these up. But we're just going to do one interim dividend and not look at a year plan for that. So we're going to go to the meeting details. The minutes are pretty comprehensive on the grounds that either they're good enough to do the job or they're not. And if they're not good enough to do the job, you might as well not bother producing them. So they are very comprehensive. We have choices as to the one that you want to do. Director's resolution is a nice short one. In this case, directors approve that dividend. So we have a whole series of possibilities if you want to change them, including the date, which again, today's date for this one, who's present, etc., etc. Most of these defaults go through. We now have to declare directors' interest that may affect their voting. Again, mainly that's none, but it might not be. And then we can just go make the documents. And those documents are then ready to download into Microsoft Word. I'm going to try and open that link in a new tab to try and save a bit of time. And that's going to go down into Microsoft Word there. So back on the CS solution, we'll continue through from there. Microsoft Word no doubt will turn itself up fairly shortly. And just while it's loading, the last thing we're going to look at then is the PSC register. We came to the conclusion when we were doing our work on PSCs that 95% of PSC data was based on share transaction movement or guarantee company membership movement. So what we have done is looked at the way those movements worked and how they affected percentage controls and automated the entire process. So the word on PSCs essentially is fit and forget, and that actually goes right down to the trustees of trusts, to joint shareholders declaring both individually as if they held the whole position, to foreign firms, etc., etc., and those special categories. And this is basically a little demonstration here of how that is going to be shown. So in this particular company, which we're looking at, it's got a joint shareholder, it's got some individuals, and it's got a majority shareholder, the Kruger Trust, which will have some trustees. So if I look at the Kruger Trust, its person type is a trust as opposed to a human being, and these three individuals are involved as trustees, so they need to be declared in the PSC register and not the trust itself. That's how it works. So I'm going to come out of there, and we're going to roll down and see what it's made of the PSC registers, the automation is made of this particular company. So we're going to go company connections again. Just have a quick look at the way the shares have worked. Back to our current shareholders at this time. They're not necessarily what happened. The whole history of the company has to be taken into account. So we'll go to the share allotments. Here we've got the Andrew Parkinson as a shareholder, Lynn Gillies as a shareholder, Robert Rogers as a shareholder. We've got Cliff Singer and Kate Holmes as joint shareholder, holding 6 shares. And then they have a second allotment to themselves, and they have here a third allotment to themselves. These are opening balances that have come in. So then we do a share transfer, and 6 of those shares are going to be moved from that joint shareholder into the trust with 3 trustees. So we're just going to have a quick look to see what the automation of PSC register has done for that process. So initially, we have Cliff and Kate, the two joint shareholders. Notice, because they're joint shareholders, they both hold the full measure of those shares. So they both hold the 6 out of 11, more than 50% of the shares, more than 50% of the voting rights, because the share class has voting rights. So if the share class didn't have voting rights, this line wouldn't be there. And then because they've got more than 50%, they have power over the board of directors for appointments and resignation. So that's in there as a PSC statement as well. They both have those. Okay. Now, as we roll down, we actually have a change of situation rolling in on the 29th of June. Robert Rogers is a trustee. 6 of those shares got transferred to the trust from the joint shareholders, so the trust is now the only PSC in the company. So all these previous, the 2 previous shareholders who were PSCs, they now have cessation dates on the date that the trust received its shares. The trust is not mentioned by name, which is correct. It's mentioned in the phrase on the right-hand side as a trustee. So we have Robert Rogers as a trustee. He has all those controls, 50-50. The next trustee also has, because they're jointly and severally, and the final trustee also have that. So as you can see, that PSC register, we have not entered any PSC data anywhere. That is all completely automated. So the message on PSCs, and one of the key features of the system, is fit and forget. 95% of the time, fit and forget is the rule for there. So sorry about the spotting email there. We have pretty much come to the end of the webinar for COSEC. So to say, a very large comprehensive system which you can use as much or as little as possible. All your confirmation statements are routine work, literally a one-click operation. Very simple maintenance of data, list of companies, list of people, knitting in the connection of the two. Very simple to file changes at Companies House, bring in new clients from Companies House, and then to sync all that lot into the BTC main scenario. Very straightforward to do dividend vouchers and dividends from the share data by simply entering a single amount of money to be distributed and a date. And very clever in respect of it's looking at deadlines and giving you 2 separate sources for deadline information to avoid missing those all-important deadlines. That's the deadline reports of various types and the email reminders. And that is the conclusion of the COSEC demo. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for your time.
Okay, now if you are interested in finding a little bit more about our company Secretarial, or you have any questions, you're more than welcome to use the details there. So if you are already a customer of BTCSoftware, you're more than welcome to email your account manager, which is going to be Abby White. So you can see Abby White's details on screen there. So it'll be abbywhite@btcsoftware.co.uk. Now, if you're a fairly new customer of ours, or you don't actually use our software yet, you can contact Tom Sheldrake in the new business sales team, and his email address is there as well, which is tomsheldrake@btcsoftware. Now, if you would like us to contact you, and I appreciate some of you have been using the questions box on your GoToMeeting panel, so thank you very much for that. So we will get back to you in answer to your questions. If you are interested in us contacting you, if you're looking at maybe a free trial of our company Secretarial module, if you can please put contact, just the word contact, in the questions box over on the right hand side on your GoToMeeting panel, we will pull up a report of all of those who have entered contact into the questions box, and we will give you all a call to discuss the company Secretarial module and getting you up and running. But once again, thank you everyone for your attendance, and thank you, Clint, also for presenting our company Secretarial module. As I said, I will be leaving the GoToMeeting panel over, and I'll be keeping the meeting live for about 5 minutes, just to make sure that if everyone wants to put contact into the question box, then they can do. So thank you very much. Goodbye.